Hi, welcome to Daces and Dragons. We're here to talk about Miss Marvel episode 3. I'm Chirag as Nani. Down with the bubbles we have Indrani, and leading us with the tech control are Bruno. We have Shubham.
Hello.
Take it away.
Hi. So today we are talking about episode 3 of Miss Marvel, which was a dive into figuring out more about who is Kamala Khan and like what are the origins behind the mysterious bangle that she seems to have inherited and the family, and who is this really sexy guy named Kamran, and why is he leading her into meeting her mom so early in the relationship. It's a bit weird, guys. We also are introduced more to the Department of Damage Control that has made some smaller appearances before, and see they are kind of lawful neutral. I'm going to say lawful evil for me alignment, but we can debate that in a second. And essentially, Kamala is posed with the question of what should she do? Kind of give up the bangle or stay with it and try to do more good? And what does that even mean? What does doing good mean? So that's the general gist of episode 3, which, by the way, if you hadn't seen, I kind of spoiled. I'm sorry, but why are you watching this podcast then? And with that, I would like to hear from you guys. Chirag, Indrani, Chirag first. What did you think of this?
Indrani hasn't had a chance to speak.
I was going. There was a reason for that. No, it's fine. Okay, fine. Indrani, let's hear it.
Sorry, what was that? Hello, everybody. Okay, so here's my instinct is to just like in my most Ashley Johnson voice, just say hello. But okay. Initial thoughts. Yeah, I was not expecting them to like diverge from her inhuman origins from the comics. But it was fun. I was excited to see them introduce like new players, and it immediately got me thinking about like the larger sort of MCU as a whole. And that was like a really fun world building element. The fact that it opens with British occupied India was just like this immediate moment of like, wait, what? This is where we're going in. I have not felt like that in any MCU or any superhero film show ever. So that was exciting. But the rest of the show, I have opinions, but I'm going to throw it to Chirag. What were your initial?
Yeah, so my initial thoughts were like, as I'm like watching this, like most of the show is like the big thing of this episode is basically like the brothers' wedding, which was so much fun. That was like so much fun seeing it, and like I'm looking and see, and it's like that square where everyone's like dancing and doing the Sangeet performance or whatever it's called. Like I've danced on that square. I swear, I see that square at every single Sangeet. Why did they specifically make it like that? Like everywhere, like, and so I just like seeing like, oh, that I remember. Then the main D was there, and I'm just like, oh my god, that's so similar. And yeah, even though there was, and just like seeing that part of the culture, like being at the mosque and everything, it was just like, oh, this is like really good point, and like that's I feel like is like the strongest bit of the show, which is that these elements are there. You're seeing the life, you're just seeing like and like everyone there. There are the meanish aunties, but you like basically everyone. No one who's like, I hate that guy, like that auntie is thing. Like no, you just like they're just like people, and you just feel nice. You feel like you like them, and that's again my point from last week. It's like if this was just a Disney show, which is just the life of the Khans, yeah, I'd watch it. It'd be a lot of fun. It doesn't even need the superhero elements, and that brings up my yeah. Go.
No. That's so Kamala would totally be a show I would watch. I feel like there is definitely a niche of exploring South Asian family diaspora drama and the teens' life. And I'm guessing Never Have I Ever kind of comes close, but I haven't seen it, so I can't really say.
Yeah. And even like Amir, it's like his whole thing is just like interesting. Like you see his concern, like he's going to grad school, he's nearly finished with grad school, and he's like concerned, like I'm getting married and I'm doing this. Like, hey, you're facing your courage, and like this feels like the end of like a season, like a Modern Family season 1, where it's like he's like dealing with this thing. I'm like, I missed that. I want to see what Amir's journey was. Who got to this? I want to, and like he has clearly everyone seems to be like, oh, their life didn't just like start when the show began. Like we're seeing them in the middle of their lives, and everyone that makes everyone feel alive. And like, oh, I want to see this show. This show would have been fun. The Crazy Cons or whatever we want to call them.
I think this actually.
Pitch this to Feige, but
Sorry, what?
we should pitch this to Kevin Feige.
Yes,
Hopefully
I
he'll
have him
put
on
us up
speed
on
dial.
that.
Or
Yeah, of
actually,
course,
don't you
speed
have him
dial.
on speed dial? I think you have some of the MCU on speed dial, or you should. Anyway, the point being that I kind of agree with both of you. Both the things that really stood out for me was the initial opening, cold open with the British India setting and the exploration of where these powers come from. Because Marvel has been slowly expanding the universe to introduce us to more aspects. So with Iron Man, we were like, okay, this is just tech. Okay, so Captain America, he's just a serum that's been put into a human. It's all just science fiction, kind of in that space. We got to Thor, and we were like, okay, he's not a god. He's just an alien from an advanced race, okay? And humans kind of came up with a whole mythology around him. So we were slowly, and then only when we touched upon like Doctor Strange, I think, did we go, okay, magic, right?
Yeah.
And then now we are kind of going beyond Nordic mythology and conventional magic systems and kind of going, okay, what other pieces of kind of mythology and culture can we pull on and kind of see? And not Marvel only, but Marvel and DC both have been kind of pretty good at this in their comics, and it's great to now see it on the show, because I think that I love seeing stuff from, say, like Kamala did, right? Kamala has a moment where she's like, this is the stuff of my nightmares. Like, this is what childhood nightmares were made of. Like, Djinn is stuff from my nightmares, right? And now she is one. I think that was a really great piece, because I would love to see more stories where we take the fairy tales we grew up with and then kind of say, okay, what else is there to explore? What other aspects are there? Did we lose Chirag?
I think
No, I'm here.
Okay.
No,
so much for not having to edit this episode.
I'm keeping this in. If you guys are watching this, I'm keeping this in. But yeah, I really like that, because in fact, because the West has already done this, right? The West has already kind of explored different facets of the same fairy tales. The Grimm stories being adapted into Disney's part of that. The multiple iterations of King Arthur's legend that we have heard. Multiple iterations of like Nordic and Greek mythology we've heard. So it's really great to now see these fairy tales from South Asia get a different lens to be explored through. So that was great. And I also agree with Chirag, because it has to be grounded in something very real, very human. And the fact that it's grounded in this wedding, which most South Asian families make a really big deal out of, right? And there's just so much, like if there's a normal Western wedding has weight attached to it, then this one is, South Asian weddings have a tendency to amplify that. So it was great to see that facet also get explored.
Indrani, you want to say something?
Let's talk about the wedding song choices for a moment.
Okay.
Fucking deep cuts, some of them, but amazing music.
Yeah.
Before the actual reception begins, the nuptials where they're like, the actual ceremony, they played a song from Guru.
Yeah.
This movie that came out, God knows when. I remember watching it in the theater with my parents. I was like super long, and I was like, why am I here? But I loved the music in that movie so much. The ability to hum along to a song that's like faintly playing in the background. This even happened in the previous episodes where they had a Ritviz, sorry, song in there. But Shubham, didn't you work on the music video?
Sage, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, look, I love the fact that this exists, allows for so many different pieces of art from South Asian cultures to be exposed to the world, and like I love that about this this show. And Marvel redeemed themselves in a dance sequence by making it like realistically like campy, but also like it feels like real people, and using actual desi songs as opposed to coming up with whatever garbage they came up with in Eternals for poor Kumail Nanjiani. So
They didn't even
that
tell
was
him. He didn't even tell him he was doing a song. If they told him, he would have probably picked better songs.
You probably would have.
they
Yeah.
made something for the. You know what? This is not about.
It's not about
the
Eternals.
Not
It's
about
fine.
Eternals, but you
But
like Kingo, but this isn't about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kingo
This
Senior.
is the Kingo Appreciation Club right here. But
Mhm.
I love the Marvel redemption arc
Mhm.
with this dance
Mhm.
sequence
Yeah.
that they had. That's just my little interlude over here.
Chirag.
That little point about like, oh, these are like songs I know. I feel like something we haven't noticed like in every Marvel show. Like I didn't notice in Moon Knight. Like Moon Knight was specifically made with an Egyptian director, and it's probably like, oh, these songs look interesting. But I realized Marvel specifically doing stuff, these shows, and like people who watch Miss Marvel, like, oh, this isn't for me. These are targeted attacks at specific communities.
Mm.
Miss Marvel is a specific attack going after your heart and your strings, and it's like aimed at South Asian people specifically. It's like, oh, and like white people are like, why am I not feeling attacked for once? I feel left out. Like, no, they've already went after you with Winter Soldier. They've already went after you with One Division. Now they're going after us. Now it's our turn to be assaulted with our nostalgia and everything.
I think, in fact, that's a really great, interesting way to phrase it. Because jokes aside, there is a thing about where I particularly value when you represent any culture. The thing isn't to just reduce it to like, oh, here's all the good stuff or here's all the bad stuff. It's to show that nuance. And I think Miss Marvel has generally been doing a really good job where it shows that these are complex settings where it's not as simple as Nakia says, good Muslim versus bad Muslim, and then like spying on the self. There is, a community that's living and breathing and living its own life, and there are people in there who have problematic views about the world, but that doesn't make them inherently evil. And the community is always trying to kind of just figure out life like any other community is, right? And yeah, it does feel like I'm finally getting to enjoy something a lot more personal. And here's the thing, I've always enjoyed these songs, but it's great to see them put in a scene where there's also Bruno dancing to them and doing a pretty decent job, I'll say.
Bruno does well.
Indrani, you want to hear?
I have to say that Bruno is now an honorary South Asian. And I don't
mean,
care what anybody says. He's invited.
He's invited to everyone's weddings.
All the Eids. He's invited to all the Diwalis.
Yeah, he's invited to all the
You know what? What I need to see next, Kevin Feige, if you're listening, you need to do this next. You need to do a, I don't know who you're going to watch a superhero this is going to be about. Hey, I'll write you one. Set it with a Indian family, Hindu family, and then have Navratri, and then have a white guy doing Dandiya, and I will pay good money to see that. I want to see Dandiya Ras with a Bruno-esque character. Make that happen.
Oh my god, yes.
So
Or just let Kamala and Bruno both participate in Navratri. That works for me too.
I'm okay with that, but if you want to widen your mythological net, then that's also cool. I'm cool with either or.
On the way, after Karachi, they stop off in India, do a little Navratri, and then they go back to Jersey.
You know what? Like Karachi, then they should go to Punjab. They should have a good experience at the Golden Temple. Maybe stop by the Taj Mahal, which is not in Punjab. But moving on. Then let's just do a whole tour. Why not? I'm okay with it. So yeah. That stuff is great.
Yeah.
But
now speaking of
wedding
stuff, say your thing. I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, good. All I'm saying is wedding stuff aside, because yes, we love the wedding and there's a lot that was really cool about it. We also got to see a bit more about these different factions at play. Does anyone want to share some thoughts on Department of Damage Control or Kamran's mom, Najma?
Yeah, we can talk about the damage control first because I've got a lot to say about the.
Let's do damage control.
Yeah, let's do.
So damage control. It was nice seeing them. Like everything so far has been like, oh, the culture's great, and they touched on a little bit like, oh, the FBI is already watching these mosques, so be careful. Be respectful. And then she just comes in, and like I could see like on Twitter, like somebody like, get your shoes off the mosque, and it's just like the sheer disrespect of this this woman as she comes in, and just like this like representing the government, even though like damage control is like a small like it's a very small group in the Marvel universe, but like seeing how they represent the government, it's like, oh, well, they don't have to name CIA or FBI or anything like that, but they like this can represent that. It's just like,
Yeah.
uh,
They're pretty
like,
much a placeholder for any suited kind of intelligence agency, right? Like they all seem to misbehave in the same manner.
yeah. I'm behind on Agents of Shield. Does Shield still exist? I don't think it does.
We
Probably
gotta check.
vital.
Nick Fury last we checked was on a Skrull ship, chilling on a simulator. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's
not.
like, and when they had so few people to help out, they recruited Peter Parker on his holiday. They had. It's like clearly Shield does not exist at this point. So damage control is like, well, we've got all this Shield tech and Sword. Sword also exists, but like Sword's
True.
got their eyes on the sky.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
That's true. For
Yeah.
me, the Department of Damage Control, like I like how they're exploring racial and religious bias. I've often seen not just like Westerners, but so many non-Muslim, like even Hindus, talk about like how if you are Muslim, then you must stand up for what's right. You must call, like you know that like good Muslim, bad Muslim thing. I love the way they're tackling it, and I'm really glad they're on.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad they're not skirting around it. Like Nakia is one of my favorite characters, just like because of this.
Yeah.
It just makes me really happy that they're not skirting around things out of like, I don't know, fear or appealing to the mass audiences. Like it's a
Yeah.
show that's made by like people from the cultures that
yeah. I just want to chime in over there because we mentioned made by, and I was actually looking into the cast and crew behind this. I hope I say her name correctly. Bisha K. Ali is the head writer behind Miss Marvel. She previously worked on Loki on a few episodes, but she's the head writer on this. She's a British Pakistani comedian who's kind of done this, and I think her along with the rest of her team have done a brilliant job of because I'm sure she's also felt the same frustrations that Kamala did, right? Growing up South Asian in England isn't any better than growing up in Jersey City. So there are those overlaps of a mom kind of treating the elder son differently from the younger daughter, kind of like worried about like keeping you safe, but the keeping you safe also comes in the manner of like restricting what you can and cannot do. A community that's always got its eye out for you, which in a way keeps you sheltered and safe, but also means you don't really have any sense of privacy and you're constantly responsible to all of them. Just those things. It's great to see that kind of explode.
No, it's good. Definitely.
Chirag, I think.
speaking of the
Sorry.
go on.
Yeah.
No, Indrani, keep going.
One of my favorite the interactions this episode, because you mentioned her community, was the one between her and her imam, bless you, where he says to her, good is not a thing you are, it is a thing you do. And
Yeah.
I believe it's like directly lifted from the comics. And I love that a figure of power, bless you again, is also like supportive. Like you can tell that he kind of sort of knows, or is
He
like
knows.
yeah
100% he knows.
yeah, there is that illusion to like that look of wisdom and that look of support from someone who is revered in her mosque. I just thought that was a beautiful scene, and I love the way they inserted this sort of iconic Miss Marvel line into
Yeah.
the show through that moment.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about Marvel. Like, even though most of the characters they don't discuss their religious affiliation, Captain America probably was Christian, or like, but for the characters whose religion is very important to them, like Daredevil, for example, or Miss Marvel, like Daredevil, like the priest, and like they respect religion quite well. They like show, and if it is like a place of strength, they show why it's important. They don't like demonize it or they say like, it's ineffectual. They like, because it matters to that character, they show why it matters to those characters where it matters. They'll make every character like go to the priest or anything like that, but they show that these people are smart. They do have insight. They have wisdom. So that is nice. It's like that's pretty good.
100%. And I just a moment here too. There was some nitwit, because there's always some nitwit on the internet, who was like,
That's a kind word. I'm
yeah,
sure.
who was like, oh, I wonder when Marvel's gonna make a show about other religious groups. And I'm like, tell me you've not seen a single Marvel show without saying you've never, I've never seen a single Marvel show. Like, what do you? Captain America literally says there's only one God, and he doesn't look like that. I mean, come on, right? Yeah, sure.
Catholicism is so important. Being a Roman Catholic is so important for Daredevil. That just shows you didn't
Yeah.
watch that show at all. I don't know if it's a big deal in Luke Cage. I think that's
Not
more
as
about
much, but
Not as much,
Daredevil very much so.
there's
Yeah.
clearly exploration of other faiths, and this one is also done tactfully, and I'm really glad that it's hitting a stride. If I may, there's another thing I want to talk about. So there's obviously this nitwit who obviously has never actually seen anything Marvel, but whatever. The second thing is the viewer reports have come in for Miss Marvel, and the whole thing. There's obviously hot takes and everything, and one of them is like, oh, it's the lowest viewed Marvel show that's come out in this year, whatever. But at the same time, Black, Latino, South Asian communities are all watching it in higher numbers. I should also point out that this is the same month when which Obi-Wan Kenobi has been coming out, severely overlapping Miss Marvel's airtime, and also the same month where Stranger Things is coming out, and The Boys. Loki
and
Moon,
Doctor Strange 2 came out yesterday.
Yeah, so
on Disney Plus.
There you go. So in terms of just the sheer competition that Miss Marvel dropped into, it's crazy. Moon Knight and Loki and all of these shows that came out earlier had a far better window, and it's fine. I think Miss Marvel is a great show, and it's gonna get its viewers back as people get time to breathe it in. And it's also not targeted at the same base that was originally watching a lot of the earlier phases, because all the previous characters, barring maybe say Moon Knight, have been established characters that are getting a season of their own, right? Miss Marvel and Moon Knight are the first few kind of shows that are just like, okay, we're gonna go explore new characters. And I think for them, they're doing a really
Moon
good
Knight
job.
had the advantage that it has Oscar Isaac with it, who's like a very well-known actor.
Yeah.
That's got it. There's like a lot of people don't realize that, like a lot of people who would normally tune in when they're like, oh, this isn't for me. They're not like advertising because they're like, hey, this is not made for me. This feels like it's for a kid or like different culture. Like, yes, it is designed with a younger audience in mind. It's designed people who are closer to a man who's closer to Ms. Marvel's age. It's still very good. And it's like it's designed to attack, our culture. Like I say attack, but attack
I love
with
the
love.
term that you go for is always attack us. And then
Yes, they go.
Chirag, your DM is showing.
It went straight to my heart, and it's definitely yeah. And
you
it's
should have a disclaimer each time, like he means this as a good thing.
Yeah, they went straight for us. But also like when I try and like tell people, watch Miss Marvel, they're like, oh, I don't know about it. It's like, oh, I thought it was animated. Like I've basically had to convince all my extended family to what I first got my mom to watch it, and then I forced my grandparents yesterday to sit and say, okay, we are going to watch episode 1 and 2. You don't get a say in the matter. If you want to keep watching, we will watch episode 3, but you have to watch episode 1 and 2. Episode 1, they were already in. They liked it. Even my grandfather, who doesn't really watch, he's like, okay, this is fun, and they liked it. They're like, oh, I recognize that song, and like everything. They were having a good time. But it's like I have to basically convince people, please, no, you will enjoy it. And they're like, oh, I don't like superheroes. Like, no, this is a good show. And just trying to get them to watch. Because that's the thing. It will appeal, but the people it will appeal to are not the people who might watch a Marvel show anyway. But if you're a DC fan or anything, just get your family to watch it. Force them to watch it.
Slight disagreement in that I do think it is obviously not catering, but like you say, attacking a lot of South Asian sensibilities, right? It sings a lot to them. But I do think it's a show that is appeals to any audience on its own. It's very universal in its design, very accessible, and I just want to dismiss the idea that it's because racists are not watching it. The review bombing that's happening is racism, but I think the reason people are not watching it is just because there's a lot going on in this month. It's not because the show's not doing well.
So like get them to watch it. Tell anyone to watch it, because it is a good show. It is like it has appeal to anyone.
Shubham, basically, I saw that whole tweet come out. I think it was like a Get Fandom tweet that went viral of Yeah,
I
and I
don't.
saw people were
Yeah.
like, yeah, but all of these other shows are out, and that's basically like the anybody who's watched it is like, well, it's not given
Yeah.
the space it needs.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like blame anybody at Marvel or this or that, whatever. Like it's fine that it's out right now, but I am just worried that the narrative is gonna get twisted to be like, oh, see, we did, like they did try it, it didn't work well.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no market for it, and that's my biggest fear with people like
Yeah.
this, like with all the review bombers and with
I
like people being like,
I kind of am reiterating what so recently I've been on a Ted Lasso binge, but you know what, I'll reiterate what we heard in episode 3. Good is not something you are, good is what you do, and I believe in general people will do good and they will enjoy what they want to enjoy, and the show will just carry on and survive on its own without, you know, us.
what's
Yeah.
the Ted Lasso reference?
Oh, the Ted Lassos, I believe in hope, I believe in believe.
Oh, okay. Because you
that's
said
a good
Ted Lasso
show.
and then you quoted.
Sorry,
Miss
my
Marvel. I'm
brain's
like,
like
what is
my
he?
brain's just does tangents on its own. It doesn't even need to talk about them. I just jump them on my own.
And let's be fair, Miss Marvel is the future. Miss Marvel is probably going to be fine. She has a movie coming
Yeah.
out called The Marvels.
Yeah.
She will be fine.
Yeah. Oh, but I'm so excited for a superhero team up. Oh, finally some exciting. I mean, there have been great superhero team ups, but I'm excited for the
Yeah.
Marvels particularly.
Now let's talk about the thing that we've been putting off. The other faction besides Damage Control.
Yes.
The how they call themselves, the
Clandestines.
Djinn, or who have many different names.
Yeah.
Also, one of which was Clandestine. Now, does any of you know what Clandestine
No, tell us.
Yeah.
is? It's from the comics.
It's
Okay,
too.
'cause
I
this
mean,
is
I
another-
know it's a play on words on the in the show because it's clan space destines, and I know a little bit about them. And I was excited to see that name pop up. But Chirag, enlighten.
You know what?
us.
You've heard of Clandestine before this? That's incredible. 'Cause
I
it's such an
read
obscure-
comics.
I haven't, so
Yeah.
I'm all ears.
Sure, I read comics,
Yeah.
but like these guys, they're like a somewhat obscure group.
Yeah, it's
of
a deep cut, but
supervillains.
I
A
know.
family. It's
Yeah.
a family. You know, I think this is the real This is the real Miss Marvel, the one who can remember Clandestine. They started off. It's a family is an immortal Arthurian kind of king, ancient English king who
Of
married
course.
a Djinn,
Yeah.
and it's about their superhuman family that they've had over hundreds of years. Oh, they're all
Right.
supervillains, or like mostly supervillains for the most part. And it's like they only took the name and the fact that they're related to an actual Djinn, and that's what they made his family. And like, wow, if people were going to be mad about Miss Marvel's powers, they're going to be so mad at what they've done to this. But I like him. I
I
what they've done
like
with
this
Clandestine.
more. If I had learned that the real reason behind the legacy was a marriage between King Arthur and a Djinn or someone in King Arthur, I would have been severely disappointed because I don't need another shoe in of King Arthur into another
it wasn't
story.
King Arthur.
Yeah.
It was 1300, so it would have been
All right.
1100 something.
Oh, okay, it would have been
some
something else. Yeah.
English thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's not. That's the thing. It's not like the name is clandestine. It's like literally they are clan Destine. The
Yeah.
Destine clan.
And it
That's-
obviously works as a metaphor, right? Like you know the genie
Yeah.
trapped in the lamp.
Yeah.
They're djinns trapped in
our
the
reality.
human. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a pretty. Yeah, I honestly used to be this sort of like, oh, it needs to be comic accurate, but as I grew older, this was like my 11-year-old opinion. I was like, oh, it's not like this in the comics. Why is it like this?
So 11 years ago.
Yeah. But as I grew old, I was like, but the comics are kind of like, I would. There is a level of suspension of disbelief, belief. I don't know what's called, but I was like, if they did a 1-to-1 replica of how a lot of the comic book stories pan out, that would just seem batshit crazy. So I no longer care if like they change things up, as long as it's good in its own as a piece of media. It doesn't matter to me like what has been
I think
changed, as long as it's a change for the better.
That's I think the way to describe that, because now that's where we get into weird territory, because you're using terms like change for the better as long as it's good.
No.
I know.
In the sense, for example, a change like the ancient one. You know, that was, I was like, oh, okay. When there's space for representation that's taken away, then it's always like iffy.
Exactly.
But if it's
So
if it doesn't like change someone's space for representation or for a new culture to be explored in a positive manner, I don't care if it's just like fluff, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
I also want to point out the one character that is probably more central to Marvel now, or like I would say after Tony Stark, the second most central character to Marvel.
Wong.
Wong, Wong
I
is
mean, he is
Wong
a
is third.
sorcerer
I would say
so-
number 3. It's actually Dr. Selvig, who seems to have papers on everything. Anytime Marvel's like, hey, do we know anything about this weird dimension or creature that may or may not be from mythology? Selvig's probably written a paper on it.
I mean, yeah, that's literally what he did in his movie. He
That's
figured
all
out
he
how to
did.
get to another dimension, and he made.
I would be okay if they did a side spin-off series where it's just Selvig traveling to different dimensions. Like maybe Jane Thor does a favor solid to Selvig and just lets him travel a bunch of different dimensions and just get to live his mythological fantasies, right?
Yeah.
That would be
That would
pretty
just basically be Doctor Who at that point, who has his own Jane. It'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I'm not against it, but
No, I'm not.
it'd be interesting. But yeah, so let me just start on what they've done to the Djinn and like the things that I think are really cool. When they came in and they started, I was like, what powers do they have? They say they don't have no, and then they come up with their awesome looking weapon. Like they've got the like really daisy weapon. Like they've got that
Yeah, the
hammer,
Gadha?
like Hanuman has.
Yeah.
They've got that one. They have the whip sword. They've got just a cool ass spear, and then come on forth with a yo-yo. I know it's not a yo-yo, but it looks like a yo-yo.
It's also
I know it's
oddly
something.
short. Like you expect it to be at least have a bigger like ball bearing at the end, or like a longer string, or maybe glow. But it was a very short piece of thing to be working with.
I mean, listen, my justification for it is that these folks, how long is like Kamran is like, I don't understand fully like how long he's been around. Like, is he?
They said he's
Because they say that
17.
he's 17,
yeah.
and if he's British, British Pakistani, then maybe he just like didn't know as much about the cool weapons that his ancestors are carrying around. They're like, oh, I'll just get a yo-yo, I guess. So
Yeah.
that's my write-off. In my head, this show can do no wrong. Like, I know this is like a personal,
Right.
maybe
Terrible
not the
take,
best-
but yes, go on.
yeah. At least so far, like the tiny things that I'm like, oh wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. Everything else is amazing, so it's fine. And that's
Yeah.
not how I usually feel about other shows, but this one is like
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean,
close
the
to the
fight
heart.
scenes the fight scenes were fun, definitely. I enjoyed the fight scene, but it does bring up like they kind of represent what some of the complaints about the show that I get, because
Yeah.
like
yeah.
every time the superhero stuff, it only happens at like the ends of each episode. Like the majority of it, like, okay, we're doing exploring, well, let's like figure out the the culture and that kind of thing. And then there's like 10 minutes of action. It's like, well, maybe
And the
8
action
minutes.
isn't even that good.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
say it.
It's
Like
not that
mediocre,
amazing.
the
It's
fight
not like
scenes.
Okay,
Yeah.
to be fair though, Kamala Khan isn't trained in anything.
It's not about
Yeah,
no,
but
no,
these
it's,
guys are.
I'm not talking about
Okay.
Kamala isn't good at fighting. I'm
Sure.
talking about the framing and the way it's
Sure.
cut. It doesn't.
I'll say the way they framed the whip sword was cool, but its use was unfortunately, I would say, a bit more. I mean, because the show is more PG-13, it was the actual violence was also more PG-13. But yeah, because generally, if you get hit by the whip sword, that's gonna leave some pretty grievous wounds on you.
I saw it like smack come on. I'm like, oh, you just so happen to hit with the flat of the blade and not the sharp parts.
But even if you hit with the flat of the blade, that's a serrated blade that's whipping across your face. You're not gonna walk away from it.
I mean,
That's okay. It's not the end of the world that they didn't show. I know it's a PG-13 show. That's all right. Like you said, the action choreography leaves a little to be desired, but I think
Exactly,
that's also because this isn't a action heavy show. It is very much Peter Parker before he learns to web sling, and so everyone around it is scaling it down. Look, all I'm saying is at least it's not Leia running through the woods bad. Okay. Shout out to Obi-Wan Kenobi for some of the worst chase scenes I've ever seen in television.
Yeah. Okay.
I like
fair
how
enough.
I was like, the show can do no wrong, but let me actually critique a part of it. And then Shubham was like, da, 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 da. I'm like, yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
get it. But
Go on,
yeah, I
critique.
agree. The choreography of the fight scenes leaves something to be desired. And look, Shang-Chi is PG-13, right? And
But Shang-Chi,
but it's a
all the
I know.
characters are at the level, so you can scale it better. Yeah. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
okay.
You know.
I'm not done talking.
Okay,
but-
fine.
Let the woman
Oh
talk.
wow, your audio's good. But
Oh
yes,
yeah.
go on.
But again, like you said,
Mhm.
they're all scaled down. But again, like the visual,
Hmm.
a bad if the characters are bad at fighting or not as good as fighting, it can still be made visually
Fair,
appealing, and that's my
fair,
critique
fair.
there.
I'll give it.
Okay.
Out of the fight scene, I'll say this was the one redeeming quality. Bruno gets smacked, and suddenly Miss Marvel shows her true colors and just like backs hands with a fist everyone in the room, and we finally get to see this big glowy, which is such an iconic thing from the comics because it's on every other like image that comes up when you search Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
So it was great to see that, and I think it's low key my fantasy to be rescued by like a female superhero. Like I'm happy for that. Can someone just whip me away? I'm okay with this. So
Okay.
Look at you. Granddad just peering from we should clip this portion.
amazing.
Hello, grandpa's nanny. But
Mhm.
here's
Yeah.
speaking of Bruno
Yes.
and Miss Marvel swooping in to save Bruno. Who are we rooting for? Who's Team Kamran? Who's
I
Team
mean, Brian's
like?
a
Are
great
we
team.
rooting for the white boy or are we rooting for?
I like Team Brian. Team
the-
Brian's pretty good.
Team Brian.
Okay, so you've made your fealty known.
Why would I mean, I don't know how the Djinn are related to it. From my best knowledge, come on, they could be related. I don't know.
Yeah,
what
that's
the heck's
true.
going on. I don't know what's going on.
I am strongly Team Bruno, but mostly because I'm Team Bruno so long as Kamla also realizes that she does actually care for him in that way. Which I think she does because we've seen the first episode. It's hinted slightly that they both have, the early tremors of love brewing about them, and they don't know how to express it because they're very young and they have always seen each other as friends. So I'm curious to see where that one goes, as opposed
That
to
looks that's it. Okay, but you clearly have a different point of view. Are you not
That's
on
such
Team
a-
Brian?
No, I am Team Bruno. And see, these are some Luke. Where is the fandom in you? Where is the hashtag Team Brian or hashtag Team?
Hey, I am Team Brian all the way. I really think I don't trust Kamran in this. Yes, he came up, but I don't like Kamran's family. I think Kamran's an odd. I don't.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I don't like the whole Jin family for many reasons. Not just that they're villains, but it's like I don't understand their motivation. And hopefully it'll be explained later on. But it's like, oh, we're going to protect you, and then they avoid contact for days, and then suddenly like, what? We wanted you to do it now, and I'm like, why? Why do you have to come at the wedding? You could have come later. And it's like, what are you trying to do? You're coming at them with bladed weapons. What do you want to do to Kamla? I don't get it.
Take
and there's like
the bangle, right?
But
what I
why
thought
didn't they do that?
She offered them the bangle, and they said no, keep it. But clearly they want her to do it. But I don't understand what's the point.
I think that like it almost feels now. I will eat my words when in the future episodes clandestines do like something truly horrific, and I'm like, yeah, okay, they're just assholes.
They're already doing something pretty horrific. They ruined a wedding. Okay, what decent?
Everyone at the wedding.
Yeah.
No, my point is that like it, in a way, the show tackles a lot of generational trauma and grief, like especially with like Kamla's mother's side of the family. And if I were to think of like people who've been, removed from their homes and for like over a century have been unable to go back, like that would drive people to do like morally questionable things. And I'm not like I think there's more to be set up with these guys. I still don't understand what it is exactly that they want, and that's fine. There's more episodes to find that out.
I guess you could do. I don't know if this is like a partition thing, because like that's an odd way to do it. Because like my family's from Sindh, and technically we would be the same. We've been exiled from
No,
that
I'm
part
not
of our
talking
thing for
about the
ages, and
partition.
like I don't see that as like a justification.
No, I'm talking about fair enough. I'm just speaking about it from a perspective of like not everybody makes constantly morally good, correct. You people can be driven to do shitty things in order, like if
Yeah.
they've been pining for something for a really long
Yes,
time, and that's what
but I
makes them
don't.
villains, which is like
Yeah,
Mm,
that's fine, but I don't understand why they're in such a hurry to do it now
I
when
think
they
that's
can
a
cause
fair criticism.
explosions.
Is if I may just be the adjudicator here. It's a fair criticism to say that the show hasn't currently clarified why we need the bangle right away. When just a few scenes before it was like, oh, you can hold on to it. It's
yeah.
fine. It feels like possibly there is a sacrificial element, and they were hoping she would do it willingly. But
Mhm.
perhaps hinting it for the audience might have helped us at least understand the motivations a bit more, because right now there isn't enough clarity, and the main reason why it works is because we are more caught up in the momentum of, oh my god, there's so much happening, than rather is the story quite pieced together yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the other option that might have happened is like, remember that big flashback at the start where they said, "I'll catch up with you later." That was all being told
Mm,
to Kamala. That may not have been what happened. That
mm,
may have just been
Mhm.
told.
mm.
That maybe what the truth might be something completely
Yeah,
different.
you could have
She's going to
a.
find out once she goes to Karachi. It could
Mm,
be something completely different. We don't know. And we're like, "Oh
Mhm.
no, they tried to kill me. No,
mm,
no, they were going to sacrifice me so they could get back home, and
mm,
I wasn't all for that." Or we were exiled for a reason.
mm.
It could be any number of reasons. We don't
Yeah.
know. It's just like
Yeah.
without that, like I didn't understand the reason for the fight, so I wasn't as
I
like
agree.
as
Yeah.
invested. Like when
I
other
That's
villains
fair.
fight, like recent ones, like the Mandarin and like other ones, I get why they're doing it,
mm,
but it's like this one, I didn't get the urgency, so I wasn't as liking
mhm.
these guys. Even disliking. I just, they weren't my
From the writer
favorite thing.
perspective, you were like, what's going on? I get that.
Speaking
Yes.
of the Mandarin, real
From
quick.
Okay.
Um we obviously we talked about the partition scene, and
Mm-hmm.
I had to go, like when I was browsing Reddit later is when I noticed that the area that, like the place where they find the bangle. Obviously, the hand was blue,
Yeah.
Kree ties,
Yeah.
Kree, yeah,
but the symbol of the 10 rings
Mm-hmm.
was under
hmm
them.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And that's like an interesting, and obviously in Shang-Chi they set up like he has like a lot of artifacts of powers in the past and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see if they're gonna follow up on that, or if that's just meant to be like a
I think this is a sign that all the Asian heroes are going to be connected, which is great. That all the
I mean,
Asian
they
tag
well,
team.
they
It's
did
fine.
come from like the same region. It makes sense that they have like reasons to.
Yeah,
Uh,
and what's it called? The actress and the actor for Shang-Chi are both Canadian, so they'll have fun.
nice. I would like to ask about Nakia, who also has a bit of a progression in this episode. She goes from potential board member to board member, and then discovers Kamala's secret. So, what do you guys think Nakia is going to feel about this? Where do you think she will land on this whole matter?
I don't think Nakia ever really said, "I'm angry that there's a Muslim superhero." Like, there's Auntie said that, but I think she's just angry that there's just getting all this. She seems more angry at damage control. I think she's just more upset she wasn't told,
Hmm.
and like
Mhm.
Kamala misconstrued it. I don't think she'll be like upset, especially because Bruno's the one explaining, and you can trust Bruno
Yeah.
for the most part. But what
So
do you think?
I I think it's like an appropriate reaction, considering that like she's been dealing with the damage control people trying to again do the good Muslim bad Muslim thing, and like she's been facing the more sort of like systemic um religious injustices, and like not knowing that your friend is the one who's been like, a, they've kept things from you, and b, those things have caused you grief.
Mhm.
So I think it's one of those stories where like eventually there'll be a pivotal moment where she comes around and is like important to Kamala's like mission at that point, or like there's gonna be that moment, when
Mm,
she's like, I accept you for what you're doing.
mm.
And I'm looking forward to that. I don't think it's gonna, like, I hope at least it's not a permanent sort of fracture
Fracture.
in their
Yeah.
relationship. What
Mm.
about
The
you,
only
Shubham?
Hmm. It's a tough one because I think she feels a lot of responsibility for the community and doesn't want someone creating more problems. But she is a modern thinker who isn't going to simply reduce a person trying, especially someone like Kamala, who she knows quite well, to be like, oh, you're just someone misbehaving. So most likely, I think Nakia will still land on the side of being an ally, but she will be frustrated because how dare you not tell me?
Yeah, I remember the first episode. She's like saying, or second episode, she's like,
Yeah.
Look at Zoe being so proud that she's part of a superhero catastrophe.
Yeah.
She doesn't say like, oh, superhero saved her. She's called it a cat, which implied that she's not a fan of superheroes.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. There was like New York was blown up, and New York is very close to Jersey. I'm sure New Jersey was also hit pretty badly from that as well, and just like all general superhero shenanigans.
Question: do we know if any of these characters got blipped?
We have no idea.
We have no idea.
That could be another tie-in thing that someone. I mean, I don't know if they'll explore it, but that could be part of the frustration that someone feels with superheroes.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. You gotta look at everybody.
Yeah.
And just like, were you blipped?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Were you blipped?
If you know what, I bet Auntie Ruby got blipped and then pretended that she did, and she was around for the whole thing. I feel like Auntie Ruby has the vibe. So
yeah, Auntie Ruby.
We should just ask Auntie Ruby directly.
She's been in all 3 episodes so far.
Yes, she has.
Dude, give her a ticket to Karachi so she can just come along and gossip, please. We need more. That's our MCU connection. That's our inside.
No. This is how you discover there's an auntie network across oceans that keeps everyone in loop. Yeah.
We know
My
that.
favorite thing about Anjali is that anytime like I call her Didi, she'll be like, you know what, thanks for not calling me auntie. I appreciate that. And in this show, she is Auntie fucking Ruby.
Yeah.
And
There's no saving.
Sorry, Anjali, you're auntie now.
Yeah.
But you know what I really liked? Like we should always have a favorite Auntie Ruby scene. Mine was when someone's like, oh, it was like Kamala who pressed, and she's like, oh, what do you know? You're blind. You can't.
You don't even have your glasses on. Yeah.
I just thought, I was like, I love you. You're amazing.
Yes, Auntie Ruby is a secret ally. Secret Kamala Khan ally. She knows everything.
Tell me, do you have one, Chirag?
There was something else. I mean, it's just she didn't get to do.
I'll pick one from first episode.
Bruno, but
yeah. Any episodes.
I'll pick one from the first episode because she's like, that dress is too short for you, and then mom's like, yeah, that dress is too short for you, and love it.
Yeah, and there was the second episode then, because she has so many great moments all the time when everyone's like doing a gossip, like, oh, I heard she put a curse on. Your great grandpa put a curse on people. Oh, I heard she had a secret family. And then I can't tell if Auntie Ruby did that just to like, stand out.
Yeah.
Like my gossip better, or she genuinely knew that. Like I heard she killed someone in partition. Like I don't know if that was real or not. I don't know. I feel like if that was real, they would have said that first. But it could be real.
Like the way she moves, the way the intonation is just like
very
amazing. It's almost like she's a really great actress or something.
Almost.
We love you, Didi.
We love. But speaking of previous episodes, here's something that I found out that just fucking endured. Like I love these kind of details, but the kid that Kamala saves, you should all go back and look at the shoes that the kid is wearing.
No wonder he slipped and fell. He was wearing 3 sizes too big for him.
Maybe it fits him. We don't know how big women's feet are.
I mean,
maybe that's why he's in the women's section.
Nakia's taller, and I mean the kids. I think I actually don't know where the kids sit.
Let's not discuss feet sizes on.
It looks like it.
My other thing is, guys, the costumes coming together. Bruno shared the mask, and is it 3D printed? What is it? What is the idea? Like, how do you think they made it? Like Bruno.
I mean, he's probably spray painted it.
No, but like, what is the material? Is it like paint printed, or is it?
I don't think there's anything special about the material, as far as I remember.
I mean,
Bruno is a
maker.
And that just speaks to my heart.
Yeah.
If I were to theorize how someone with like Bruno's
technical skills,
but also like economic restrictions, I assume, would do it, it would probably be 3D printed.
I just had a brilliant crossover idea.
I'm totally gonna make my own version.
I have a crossover idea. Bruno and Peter Parker are both dumpster diving looking for broken tech that they can reuse. and then they just
Yeah.
like have a chat, and then they go their respective ways, not knowing who the other person is. And like maybe Ned's there, and Ned's like, "Oh, I'm the man in the chair, and I'm the man in the chair," and it's just,
Yeah.
oh, Ned doesn't know he's the man
But
in the chair anymore.
Ned doesn't
Oh,
remember
so
him.
sad. That
Ned's not
breaks
in the
my
chat.
heart.
Yeah. Ned's not even in New York. I think he moved to MIT. They
Yeah,
went to
he's
MIT together, right?
Boston now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well.
I love that our like we are peak. Wouldn't it be cool if? And it's often always followed by the most campy, cheesy things in the world. And my heart, it just I want it to be true.
Yeah.
And but I just know that they'll never do it. And
Yeah. I mean,
Hey.
I mean, like,
Yes, hold on, because I don't know if you guys know this, but when they were shooting Miss Marvel, they were shooting it on the same lot next to Loki and Spider-Man: No Way Home, and so Iman Vellani met Tom Hiddleston first, but later on met Tom Holland, and I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but if anyone wants to swing by Jersey City for a little, just a background shot, I'm okay with it.
we've been
oh yeah,
saying
they
this
call
since
in Tom
Hawkeye.
Holland for a background shot.
Been saying this to Hawkeye. Oh no, poor Hawkeye.
Yeah, we said that in Hawkeye. He's in New York. Maybe Spider-Man will show up because it's Christmas at the end of Spider-Man. Like, nope.
Aunt May was like, "No, you're staying home and having Christmas with me."
What Aunt May?
She's dead.
Oh,
Shubham.
she's dead in Hawkeye? No, No Way Home
Yes,
came
she's
up
dead.
after Hawkeye, guys.
Hawkeye came after No Way Home.
No? You guys have got your timelines
Yes.
wrong. No Way Home.
You've got your
No way.
Shubham. Relax. All right.
You can look it up.
I'm gonna check.
Yeah, Hawkeye was before No Way Home.
No, it was after.
Okay, so
Sorry,
no.
after. That's what I mean. Yeah. Now my
Yeah.
brain is
Huh.
November 2021.
So,
Maybe you're right then.
yeah. I'm just saying. I'm pretty sure because Hawkeye came out Christmas, peak Christmas, and No Way Home is a 2022 release, isn't it? Or am I just getting like?
yeah, no.
yeah.
I think Shubham is right.
Yeah.
No Way Home came out after
Yeah.
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's where Aunt May was like, "You're staying home for Christmas," which is
I respect that. Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, or you know, maybe spending some time with MJ. Oh, but no, you know what, guys? I just realized. Sorry, there is a point to clarify. No Way Home follows right after the events of
Yeah.
So there's
No Way Home said
there's no
in
time jump.
2023. Hawkeye said in 2024.
Yeah, no, that means Spidey is currently dealing with something else.
That means Spidey has been on his own for a year.
Yeah, that explains why he wasn't dealing with.
Oh my heart.
Oh gosh, that's painful.
I the other day I booted up like I started playing No Way Home.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to watch the sequence where all the Peters come together. Started playing it.
Yeah.
Like an hour and a half later, I was like, oh, I've just watched the second half of the movie.
Amazing.
In its entirety.
Yep,
It's so good.
So good. Yeah. But speaking about the importance of family, that's back to Miss Marvel. That's like something that was a repeated point throughout the episode, where it's like, you know, whenever you're facing your mountain, whenever your problems, you have family. And they said that to Amir. And like Kamala was watching, like, you know what? You've chosen family, you've chosen faith. As long as you have family, everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, they're leading it up that she realizes that, you know, family is really important. You can like go out and like that's the strength of family. And then at the end, when they say like, what happened, Kamala? Why? Kamala didn't say anything to them. I'm like, why? Why have you not said anything to them? I thought that was the whole point of this lineup, that, you know, she's going to be different and that she'll be like, yes, guys, I have these abilities. I'm scared. Please help me. I need my mom and dad to guide me. And again, she's not like any other character. Like, sure, Peter Parker is like trying to protect his aunt, who's like old and frail, but like her parents aren't that old, and her parent, and the whole time she's been watching, you know, the important family, and it means like it's like it goes out in one ear, out the other, and I'm like, I don't get it.
I do. It's like as a young girl with like really like overprotective parents, I can totally see her trying to cling on to like this little thing that if the gamble is that I tell them and either they support me or they take it away from me, that fear can be like overwhelming. And you disagree?
I don't think she wants the power anymore. At that point, she's like, take the bangle. don't know if she wants it anymore. That's the thing. If she was like, I want to be a superhero, remember throughout that whole bit, like, I don't think I should have the power, Bruno. I should give it away. I'm not the right person. Like, Carol Danvers would know what to do. I don't think she still wants it.
It's not just about like wanting the power. That's what I was like projecting, I think. But also know that the amount of times they've talked about how Aisha has brought shame to the family by doing XYZ, and now there's so much like, oh, there's a young Muslim superhero who's, you know, like being chased by the, like, all of this. If her family finds out it's her, like, if you've been like, you've brought shame to the family, is like a soul crushing thing to like live with. So I don't think it's unrealistic, like especially in episode 3. I don't think it's unrealistic for her to be like up, just like, oh yeah, it was me. I get that she's
I will
scared
chime
of
in over
telling.
here as the neutral party. I think the frustrations of characters not speaking up when they most likely would benefit from speaking up makes sense. Simultaneously, I think we have to remember that teenagers in general are not very good at telling hard truths to their parents, and one of them being the crazy idea of like, hey, I took that bangle that you took away from me, and turns out I might be connected to a Djinn legacy, and now Najma's come after. That's not going to land well or be believable. And it's also just one of those things that if you tell, you don't know you're going to get them in trouble, which might be the sense of like, I'm keeping you safe by keeping you out of the loop. It's not the best reasoning, but I don't think Kamla has the best reasoning because she's not making the
Yeah.
wisest decisions.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's inference. Like, but everything we've heard this episode was like, and everything she's watching and reacting would make you think she's going, okay, I will tell them. But I haven't like seen enough of the other point of view, which makes it feel like keeping it a secret or holding on to it is a good idea. It's like that didn't show up that much this episode. Maybe it's like a deleted scene or something, or where she had this moment with Bruno. Like, should I tell them? Or like, but I feel like it's just too much inference. Like, you have to like guess why she would do that rather than like, this makes sense for the character. But it's like, I don't know, it felt that way to me. Maybe other people like it gets it, or they can just like say like, yeah, young superhero doesn't tell their powers. But just
yeah. No,
yeah, just like everything else that episode made me feel like she wanted to tell her she wanted to tell her family, or she was feeling like that was the right choice. Everything else, she was watching and think it felt like that was the right call. But it's like, I don't know, like that ending, that last bit was like, I didn't get why she made that choice. It didn't make sense to me. Shubham, I interrupted you.
No, I was going to say that this is a great question to leave for our audiences to ponder over and see if they would want to chime in. Or what do you think? Is Kamla acting like a reasonable person, or is she playing well into what her character would do, or do you think you're having to do a lot of inference and figure out why she is acting the way she is? Let us know in the chat or in the YouTube comments if you're catching it later. As we say, good night. For now,
Stay cosmic.
Ooh.
stay cosmic. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.